We live in a divided world with many peoples, many cultures, and languages. Everybody has their own hopes and dreams, but still, perhaps we could take some time to try to learn what it means to be virtuous together. Let's continue today with Sun Tzu's Art of War, Section 5, about energy. Sun Tzu said, "The control of a large force is the same principle as the control of a few men. It is merely a question of dividing up their numbers. Fighting with a large army under your command is nowise different from fighting with a small one. It's merely a question of instituting signs and signals. To ensure that your whole host may withstand the brunt of the enemy's attack and remain unshaken. This is effected by maneuvers direct and indirect. That the impact of your army may be like a grindstone dashed against an egg. This is effected by the science of weak points and strong." So let's recap these 4 points first here. So the nature of fighting is the same regardless of the scale of the army involved. And ultimately, I think where he's leading with this is that if you can manage a small army, that if you institute signs and signals, you can also manage a larger army, and the sheer numbers aren't the only factor involved. As we heard in previous chapters, so too is the character of the general. Let's move on. In all fighting, the direct method may be used for joining battle. However, indirect methods will be needed in order to secure victory. Indirect tactics, efficiently applied, are inexhaustible as heaven and earth, unending in the flow of rivers and streams, like the sun and the moon. They end but to begin anew. Like the 4 seasons, they pass away to return once more. There are not more than 5 musical tones or notes, yet the combinations of these 5 give rise to more melodies than can ever be heard. There are not more than 5 primary colors, yet in combination they produce more hues than have ever been seen. There are not more than 5 cardinal tastes: sour, acrid, salt, sweet, and bitter. Yet combinations of them yield more flavors than can ever be tasted. So, again, I think what we're leading up to is that if you can manage a smaller army, and if you can communicate effectively and work with these fundamentals, then there's no question of your ability to operate at scale. In battle, there are not more than 2 methods of attack, the direct and the indirect, yet the combination of these 2 give rise to an endless series of maneuvers. If you've played chess, if you've played strategy games of any sort, beyond the scope of tic-tac-toe, the space of possible games just explodes. And this is something that modern computing power has changed the way we think about these games. That by effectively working with symbols and signals, computing power works incredibly well at scale, even though all it's doing is just working with fundamentals. The direct and indirect lead on to each other in turn. It's like moving a circle. You never come to an end. Who can exhaust the possibilities of their combination? It occurs to me, when we think about combat, or when we think about games, or any sort of competition, we tend to think about games where there's the possibility of victory and there's the possibility of defeat. we don't tend to focus on the corner case of there are some games that are unquestionably winning and unquestionably losing. Or there's some games where no matter how all the players participate, the game, its space of possibilities could be quickly exhausted. But once you move beyond trivial combat, trivial strategy games, that's no longer the case. So let's move on. The onset of troops is like the rush of a torrent, which will even roll stones along in its course. The quality of decision is like the well-timed swoop of a falcon, which enables it to strike and destroy its victim. Therefore, the good fighter will be terrible in his onset and prompt in his decision. Terrible in the sense of powerful and terrifying, I assume. Energy may be likened to the bending of a crossbow, decision to the release of a trigger. Amid the turmoil and tumult of battle, there may be seeming disorder, and yet no real disorder at all. Amid confusion and chaos, your array may be without head or tail, yet it will be proof against defeat. So, the appearance of disorder is not the same thing as disorder there. Oh, interesting. Point 17. Simulated disorder postulates perfect discipline. Simulated fear postulates courage. Simulated weakness postulates strength. Hiding order beneath the cloak of disorder is simply a question of subdivision. Concealing courage under a show of timidity presupposes a fund of talent energy, or latent energy. Masking strength with weakness is to be effected by tactical dispositions. Thus, one who is skillful at keeping the enemy on the move maintains deceitful appearances, according to which the enemy will act. He sacrifices something that the enemy may snatch at it. By holding our baits, he keeps them on the march. By holding out baits, he keeps the enemy on the march. Then, with a body of picked men, he lies in wait for him. The clever combatant looks to the effect of combined energy and does not require too much from individuals. Hence, his ability to pick out the right men and utilize combined energy. When he uses combined energy, his fighting men become, as it were, like unto rolling logs or stones. For it is the nature of a log or a stone to remain motionless on level ground, and to move when on a slope. If four-cornered, to come to a standstill, but if round-shaped, to roll going down, or to go rolling down. Thus the energy developed by good fighting men is as the momentum of a round stone rolled down a mountain thousands of feet in height. So much on the subject of energy. So, Sun Tzu had many things to say here. The more we think about this, I think two themes stand out in this chapter. One, that if you can master fundamentals, there's an immense diversity of things you can do with that mastery at a larger scale. And two, mastery of these fundamentals entails your ability to communicate amongst your army and communicate a different message to the opponent. So this, again, he was saying that you want to posture strength if you are weak and so forth, but I suppose not to the extent of being too predictable. Somebody who shows their enemy all their cards is going to have a much harder time achieving victory. But yeah, I find it interesting on the subject of energy that since we have computers in this day and age, they can help us recognize patterns, but there still is wisdom required on our part to validate that which computers are teaching us, or that which our fellow humans would do much better at teaching us than computers currently can. We need to, even though there are correlations, even though patterns do appear, it's in the eye of the skilled general to determine how uh, what they see. That they see the truth and what their opponent's condition is. That they see the truth in the conditions of the heavens and the earth. Sorry, I'm babbling here. I just find it so profound in this day where we have so much in the way of bountiful resources in so many places around the world. And yet, in other places in the world, there's not this same plenty. There's many places in the world where there is scarcity in even basic needs. And this is there's certainly a question of how to effectively do philanthropy here. But there's also a question. I think I'd seen a video entitled What If We Could Weaponize Empathy? Because there are so many people who have been so blessed with so many resources, and you see a world that's in many ways in need. But giving to every charitable cause isn't necessarily the solution either. It certainly helps to help charities both local and abroad. But yeah, there is this question of how can we better communicate amongst ourselves to make the best use of the energy that we have to achieve our greatest goal. And I suppose part of that is realizing what our common goals are and realizing the extent to which we're aligned to achieve them. If you join a martial art, you study it together, and there are experts. These experts can help both each other and the students to achieve success in that field. In academics, there are experts, whether it's publicly funded or privately funded. There are experts that can teach you if you're doing things well or not. And yet, in the face of all this local expertise, and in the face of us having more access to knowledge and information than ever before, so too we have the internet, which is such a disruptive force. And it has such incredible potential to bring so much good everywhere to everyone. But it's not always how it's used. Anyway, in the light of, I don't know. Yeah, the internet has done some good things, bringing us together, helping us realize what we enjoy. But it also has this divisive force that's I'm not totally sure what we can do about, other than just you can't believe everything you read on the internet, you can't believe everything you hear on the internet. It helps to form communities But even these communities, like if they're just digital, if there's it can become easier to fracture said communities when it's not so clear what their goals and hopes and interests are. Um, so I'm not really sure what more to say about that. Perhaps if I give it more time and reflection, I'll come up with more constructive things to say. Whether or not the internet can help us solve problems, one thing can be said, and that's that in a smaller scale, offline, all these principles do still apply. So if you are still wanting to master any kind of skill or art or craft, or form a group and have this group either do charity work or do some less charitable but still common purpose, it doesn't, like, you can have a common interest in art, you can have a common interest in poetry and book reading and 1,000 things. There's communities for so many different things out there, and these communities, through having order, can make the best of their resources. And these can, I don't know, be more transformative. You can achieve greater things in a community than you can alone. So, I do remember, was it Tim Cook or was it Stephen Colbert? I don't remember. One at a commencement speech was saying it's unfortunately easy to become cynical and overwhelmed by what's out there, but don't let yourself fall prey to that. Keep your eyes and ears open. They didn't say this part, but yeah, there's still hope, and people are wanting to do things communally. As long as their civilization has been around, we've always wanted to communally achieve things. So, if you want to do something with a community, that's wonderful. If you don't recognize the value of a community, if you still want to master any skill or art or craft on your own, learning the basics of that craft and honing each basic fundamental aspect of it will help you do things that you might not have imagined you could be successful at. So, sorry to take this into the domain of strategy games again, but yeah, I've read many strategy books about chess and checkers, backgammon, and other strategy games, but mostly about chess. And so by reading teachings, like this is available through public libraries, I've had the ability to access a public library and read books by many titled players and even world champions. And it's amazing just the insights that the experts share. And they teach you so many ways to think about a position. And if you can memorize rules about, like, passed pawns must be pushed, and it's important to activate your pieces in the endgame and your king, and then worry about moving your pawns. There's just lots of little guidelines that generally are applicable, but this tends to only be fully general within the scope of or domain of an endgame. There's not really the same kind of advice for opening strategy for all chess openings. But yeah, by mastering the use of each individual piece and each pair of pieces and each trio, each set of 3 or 4, etc. pieces, by studying these basic endgames, and seeing patterns taught by champions, it becomes much easier to learn a craft. I do hope to do something more educational with chess in the future. I'm not sure if I'm in the position to do something more educational with shogi, despite my amateur experience and assistance from many people. I'm not sure that I'm in a position to produce something of high enough quality that it would be able to move people and myself. Um, but I think well, the irony here is that there are an overabundance of chess materials out there. So when I say I'm interested in helping with chess and teaching, I'm more helping with critiquing chess tools and software, uh, particularly by open source free software enthusiasts, that they can help us with pattern recognition and with being able to um, share our learnings with other people. Information sharing is still something that we have to figure out how better to do. Um, yeah, and it's not just about deceiving the enemy, even though this seems to come up in section after section in Sun Tzu's work here. These institution of signs as signals with your own army, with your comrades, is likewise important. So I'm not sure. Yeah, I'll have to give it a lot of thought. Perhaps I can come up with something constructive. Um, Regardless, yeah, how do I end this? The quality of decision is like the well-timed swoop of a falcon, which enables it to strike and destroy its victim. Perhaps this is why we enjoy sport so much. Whether it's watching strategy games or watching sumo or other sports, it's amazing to see at the Olympics these experts of their craft performing at their very best. It's wonderful to witness. And perhaps there is still room, well, perhaps there's increasingly room for us appreciating the skills that each other have and learning together. Thanks for listening. Have a good day.